Alright guys, Hatchcrappy again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome to Sunday for the first tournament of the year. Yes, it's online, but the Los Angeles Thieves, the pre-tournament favourites, eliminated by Atlanta FaZe last night. Nadeshot not happy at all at the way that he perceives Thieves have been approaching practice over the last couple of weeks, not taking things as seriously as he would like for this tournament, but also drama between aBeZy and Accuracy after Sib seems to be getting banned from scrims and the rest of the Cloud9 boys after what happened in the game yesterday. Lots of controversy on whether this is the correct decision and exactly everything that's been going down behind the scenes with Ghosty stepping up to the plate, it seems, to enforce the GAs. Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. We're just going to start here. FaZe Thieves. It was a late one last night and it was a very entertaining series. This series is always fascinating because it's Scrappy versus Drazah. Now, of course, online over the last few years, Scrap versus Drazah has been relatively back and forth. On LAN, Scrappy, like always, has his number. On LAN, this isn't really a rivalry, but online, it most certainly is, and FaZe, they win the map 1. Look, we talked about that 1 versus 4 from Simp, whether that was going to be the turning point in their season. Look, I think FaZe were probably going to come good at some point anyway, but it's definitely a talking point, right? Simp clutches that 1 versus 4, they win the game 2 against Miami, they close out the series after nearly getting 100-point clubs in the game 1, and then they come out against Thieves, they go up 2-0, they do lose the control. This, I honestly thought, could have been the start of a pretty crazy reverse sweep here, right? Because Thieves went down 2-0 in the control as well. They brought it back to win it 3-2. Tough map from Simp here, actually, which was somewhat surprising. But a banger from aBeZy from start to finish in this series. And aBeZy then continued that rampage, going into the Skyline hardpoint to close out the series. 1, 2, 3. Envoy goes down as the third death as well. And that's a key talking point, right? We talked about it with the Los Angeles Thieves, especially Envoy's individual play. I think, yes, HyDra and Scrappy did not have their best series, but I think you know in general what you're going to get from those guys. Ghosty, I think, as well to some degree. Last year, though, Envoy was a question mark. He was somewhat underwhelming on, well, sometimes he was good, sometimes he was very underwhelming on Toronto, certainly in the hardpoints. And that needs to be something that he solves for this season. Last night, that was not the case. Thieves, they were often, solo challing, playing 1-by-1, not trading, and genuinely they looked like just a substantially weaker and really different team to what we saw in the first few weeks of the qualifiers. FaZe looked pretty on point. It wasn't, perfect from them. Not everyone had a dominant performance all the time, but aBeZy especially really turned up. And this was a critical series result, right? Thieves were the favourites for this tournament. They were expected to come in here, beat FaZe, who have not been looking so good lately, make it to the finals, and probably win. But this series wasn't really especially close. Ghosty with a 1.04, HyDra with a very rare series in the negative, but it was Envoy with a 0.73, kind of the standout on that side. aBeZy with 112 kills. Cellium actually turned up as well and had some crucial moments, especially in the search and destroy. And Simp and Drazah go negative and they still win the series. So, huge talking points, really. I think especially from the Los Angeles Thieves side, because we've not seen them play in a while. What we do know is that they've been refusing to play OpTic, at least until this point, because, well, they chalked the scrim because they didn't want OpTic to stream it. Whereas FaZe, yes, their scrims have not been looking great. We've seen them play loads of challenger teams and struggle. But as I said a couple of videos ago, they've been practicing a lot. Like, whatever you think about FaZe's results, they've been playing 2-3 sets of scrims a day. They've been putting in the time. Have Thieves been putting in the time? Rumour has it they got back to practice after Christmas on something like the 6th of January. Like, well, it seems anyway, were slacking over the Christmas New Year break thinking they were the best. And Nadeshot straight up says it. He took a massive pay cut, like a $200,000 pay cut Nadeshot took to make sure this team was formed. And I still think this team is going to have lots of success in the longer term. And maybe this is an important wake-up call for the Los Angeles Thieves. But it's very interesting, isn't it, that it seems like they felt like, yeah, we're the best number 1, FaZe are struggling, OpTic having drama. It's going to be easy. But, Thieves have not won 4 events this year. They've won precisely 0 events this year. And as Nadeshot says, I don't want to see our guys log off the game until the first major. Clearly, the foot was taken off the gas pedal over the break. Figure it out at Los Angeles Thieves. And, this guy says 1 series, bro, it's all right. But as Nade says, if they're happy losing 1 series, then we signed the wrong team. I'd imagine they are just as mad as me, if not more. Obviously, I don't expect them to win every match, but we've got to act like we should and want to win every game not hard to understand. So, yeah, Nadeshot's is pissed off, right? He's not a happy man, and understandably so. Look, losing a series to FaZe, it's going to happen, but I think it's the way that he feels like they have approached things over the last couple of weeks, which has not filled him with that much confidence. As I say, it could be a crucial time for, Thieves to humble themselves a little bit, but it's Scrappy, right? Like, is it possible for this guy to humble himself? Who knows? As Scrap says, GG's, FaZe lost 3-1. Those guys are looking good. Now, I never really know, because these sentences can very easily be sarcastic, but, maybe not. I want to give Scrappy the credit of the doubt to say, look, you know what, fair play, FaZe. They played well, they're looking better, but, of course, it's always going to be difficult for Scrappy to give any credit to Drazah, and I feel like part of what he's saying here is, on LAN, it's going to be different. That would be my read between the lines. But, yeah, Drazah said this, the best team in the game, what are you talking about? Hashtag FaZe up. So great storylines for the season. I mean, there's villains all over the place. Drazah, in terms of like a villain category, the FU Drazah chance, like he's still up there. But Scrappy's been kind of coming into that role lately with all the Los Angeles Thieves scrim-related stuff. Shotzzy isn't afraid to show his mind as well. So, yeah, I don't know what's happening at the top of this league right now, but it is very entertaining indeed. And obviously, Los Angeles Thieves not so happy about it, and who knows, right? They've not streamed their practice because they didn't want, all their secret strats to get leaked. And then here they are getting beaten anyway, so does it really matter? And according to JP, he mentioned that OpTic will be streaming scrims against Thieves if the minimap is covered. That's probably what's going to be happening from now on. So, yeah, probably good news, but definitely dramatic to say the least. Now, the other big controversy from last night was on the snaking stuff, because Shotzzy called out Thieves the other day over the, obviously the scrim stuff, and he said that these guys are a bunch of pussies, basically. Now, Ghosty maybe heard this and said, you know what, alright, I am going to stand on business on something, and that involves the snaking here from Sib. Now, last year, we saw a few instances of snaking, certainly from the Seattle Surge was a big talking point. Even, I think, Skyz did it at the start of last season against a series they played against the Los Angeles Guerrillas or something. But this is, this is Cold War Cellium snaking, right? Like, this guy isn't trying to hide anything. There's no 1 pump, 2 pump, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, it's as many as you like. So, Sib, it's pretty egregious. And the CDL isn't going to do anything about it, because as far as they're concerned, snaking is perfectly fine. It's not against the rules, because to be fair, if you're the league, how the hell would you enforce banning something like this? It's not possible. This is a Modern Warfare 2 style snake that we saw a couple of years ago from especially teams like the Subliners that Sib was not on at the time. But this is very blatant. There's no doubt about it. Sib was snaking, and the pros have GA'd snaking. So as far as they're concerned, this was very much so breaking the rules, and, potentially a critical moment in the map as well. Zoom was pretty mind-blown about it. He gave a red card to Sib at the time. TJ was talking about it in the post-game interview as well. And therefore, the question was, okay, what's the repercussion going to be? What are the circumstances going to be this time compared to what happened last year, where, to be fair, people were getting away with this type of stuff? And this, I thought, was the controversial part as far as I'm concerned, is the way maybe that Cloud9 expected this to be handled. I don't think it was clear exactly what the punishment should be, and that was what was discussed on the flank last night. Accuracy, coach of Cloud9, joined up to kind of say, look, the 1 week ban from scrims, as we'll see Ghosty mention here in a second, didn't necessarily seem fair to them, because as far as they were concerned, last year this type of stuff was happening and these type of punishments were not necessarily getting enforced, and it also wasn't exactly clear what the punishment for a first offence should be for, a team in this type of circumstance. But also, I feel like that mentality from Cloud9 and Accuracy kind of implied that they felt like they could kind of get away with it. There was maybe a feeling from Sib that, if I snake and then obviously we win the map as a result, it's like, oh, I snake, okay, my bad, I'm not going to apologize. But then the first punishment is like, okay, it's a first offense, we'll let you off this time or whatever. Because, as I say, the CD aren't doing anything. This is on the pros to police this type of stuff themselves. Now, if Sib knew that he was getting kicked out of the league and permanently banned or suspended for 6 months, then he wouldn't have done it, right? So I think that's when the pros need to ensure that the punishment is a deterrent for the players to do this stuff. And I think that is probably what this punishment is, but I just don't think Cloud9 were maybe expecting it. So before we discuss what Ghosty had to say, I wanted to share this excellent clip here from the flank. You guys know that I've got a bit of a soft spot for Ben J, but I thought last night he did a good job standing on business, because Accuracy comes into the call tells BenJ to shut the F up on his own show, crashes out a little bit. BenJ stands behind his take and says, look, you guys have got to police this stuff. Is what I'm saying about what the CDL would do not true? And then Accuracy crashes out and leaves the call.
Well, but also, Lamar, for your definition of cheating, like single tap was technically allowed by CDL rules, correct?
Bro, what are you talking about, bro?
Shut
the fuck up, Ben.
Anything against GAs is cheating, Ben.
You're a cheater if you break GAs.
All right, but you're running into the point I'm trying to make, which is like, if you guys want GAs, you need to have proper enforcement. And it sounds like both last year with the single tap situation, and again this season, you guys have an inability to actually enforce the GAs you want. You wonder why they're weak. And
no, that's not true. Because when, like for example, Seattle broke multiple GAs, they did get their weak punishment because they had broken multiple GAs. They threw 2 smokes, then they snaked again, and then we're like, all right, bro, this is your fucking 3rd time doing this. You're not scrimming for a week. But I do agree that the punishment
can be raised. It took 3 times for them to get banned or 1 week of scrim.
This is why we got to bring bullying back, man. This is why.
This is like when professional athletes get fined $1,000 for a penalty. It's like, who the fuck cares? They're gonna keep doing it because it's
exactly.
To them.
So shut the fuck up and let me talk. What I'm saying is that yes,
to be
the
fair,
standards that were set.
Treat him with some fucking respect.
Let him talk, man. Let him talk.
Go ahead.
Lamar.
No, go ahead.
Out of here, bro.
Is you're leaving?
User disconnected.
Ben, come on, Ben. What the fuck?
That was awkward. That was awkward.
I don't know. You disrespected the fuck out of me. Like that was actually insane.
Ben, what the hell?
I mean, so it seems like Ghosty's decided he's going to be the official GA commissioner. I started the vote for C9 to be blacklisted 1 week from pro scrims for snaking during their match today. Currently 6 of the 11 teams have agreed, waiting on the others. OpTic, FaZe, Carolina, M8 and Miami. Now, of course, Carolina, it was against them, so I don't imagine they're going to vote no. And this, of course, caused quite a stir, because as Sib says now, like, obviously people are going to hate on Sib for everything that happened yesterday, but I do think Sib makes a fair point. That, okay, sure, fair enough, but keep the same energy all year, because come tournament time, nobody says anything, especially at champs. And, you know, maybe this is true. We saw last year that there were certain instances of snaking, certain players that were like, oh, well, maybe it's fine. I think Cellium maybe had a couple of moments that were borderline, and people were like, ah, well, you know, yellow card, whatever. So Sib's like, okay, look, sure, if you want to punish me for this and blacklist us from scrims, then, you know, we're going to make sure that's going to be happening all year. And Ghosty says, can't disagree about champs with it being last event, but of course, champs is tricky, right? Because the last event of the year, if someone snakes, what are you going to do? But I just want to set precedent for this, since we always let it slide in prior seasons. We're discussing it in the chat, but will not be 1 week, as that's not similar to last year's punishments. So that's pretty interesting development, I guess, and what the plan is there to maybe bring the punishment down somewhat for the first offense. Just, I think that was Accuracy's perspective. It's like, is this really aligns with what we have seen previously? But look, it's definitely interesting. The reality is, this is a pretty big deal. If you get banned 1 week from pro scrims, you know, what are you going to do for the week? I mean, and also challenger teams, they also tend to get involved in this, right? Because you can't even just scrim challengers, because they will also say, oh, sorry, you're blacklisted. Because if a challengers team is seen to be scrimming Cloud9, then that team is then considered by the pros to be breaking the blacklist and breaking the gentleman's agreement of the pros with the challengers to not scrim those guys. And therefore those guys, you know, pro teams won't pick them up, right? So that's when you get into this kind of interesting situation here. Ghosty does say, look, I had this drafted since after map 1 of their series, so you know, sent it probably a bit too early considering we're changing the punishment a bit. Yeah, myself and the boys lost, and yes, it was a lazy series from us, but I still wanted to bring it up. So it's probably not going to be a week, and Clayster says that in certain instances, they might need to be more careful about this, but still, drama everywhere in the CDL at the moment, and you know, maybe this was Sib's attempt to get out of the bottom 4 of the players in the league as it stands. But let's talk about today, going into the Championship Sunday. This is the way the bracket has played out so far, and here we are with 4 teams remaining. Not the 4 teams I thought would be left on the lower side. I did expect it to be OpTic Ravens in this side of the semi-finals. This is very interesting, mainly because it's Shotzzy versus Slasher. If you guys are aware, over the last few years of competing, ever since Shotzzy's come into the league, Slasher has never beaten Shotzzy. It is, I think, 14-0 in Shotzzy's favour in this matchup. Does Slasher get beaten 15 times in a row? I mean, TJ broke his curse against FaZe the other week, so I think it's possible. I think the way that OpTic have played, the way that Ravens have played, either result is possible. We predicted in our breaking points kind of predictions that Ravens were going to win this series, so you know, I'm going to stick by that in a 3-2, but I think it could absolutely go either way, and you know, we'll see. I think TJ, if he turns up again, they're in a good spot. FaZe Rocker, I have a tough time seeing FaZe losing this series the way that they've played for the last couple of days. So I'd really love a FaZe OpTic finals for the first time in some time. Or FaZe Ravens would also be great as well, because obviously FaZe got 3-0'd by them online not long ago. I think it is just a straight up best of 5 in the grand finals. So it's not best of 7 or anything like that. Winner takes home 20k, winner takes home 30 CDL points. But who's going to win? 4 teams left. 1 team will be the winner at the end of this evening. We'll talk about it in a few hours time. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.